Hey guys, welcome back to Hot Takes and Deep Dives. This is Jess, and I am here with somebody we all just watched on RHONY and most definitely remember from that matchmaking scene from, what was that, season 10?
Season 10.
Yes, the epic Bethenny and Carole fallout.
Oh, that was major.
Hi, Rori.
Hey, Jess, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I am good now that I'm here. I am great.
So this season we just saw you set up Ramona, but I want to go, and we're going to go hella deep on that. But I want to first backtrack. So let's give like a little bit of a log line about who you are, what you do, and then we're going to first dive into the matchmaking scene where you did the speed dating event with Bethenny Carole, Sonia, everybody, where we met Red Scarf Guy. Very cute Red Scarf Guy, by the way.
He is very cute.
And then we'll get into the setup with Ramona that we just saw.
Let's do it. So my name is Rori Sassoon. I'm the co-founder of a matchmaking service called Platinum Pois. It caters to a lot of the single, successful men and women that live more in the tri-state area, although we are based in New York City. Our service is something that we offer where you don't have to be on an app. You're a person that is really, in a sense, not that I want to say above that, but you really value your privacy. Everything that we do is, completely discreet. And the service is something that is, obviously it is expensive.
Out of curiosity, how much is it?
So it's $5,000 for women and it's $20,000 for men. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we do that, which I get that question a lot, is that I feel that men and women both should have skin in the game, but the men are the ones that are doing the asking. So technically they could have 4 or 5 or 6 dates in a month where a woman might get 2. So, and I also feel that when a man makes an investment financially and emotionally, he's serious. He's not looking for a hookup because this is not what this service is about. It is for people who are looking for a long-lasting relationship, whether that ends in marriage or not, that's up to you.
And how many clients do you currently have?
We are up to almost 900 clients in total. Our business was started in 2013. We do a deep dive into a person's personality, and it's all about a personality profile, which is the substance and the secret sauce that helps us match our clients.
Do you have them take like a Myers-Briggs test, or what's that other one, the Essential Enneagram?
So we don't, and we are asked that actually a lot. So my partner, Dr. Errol Gluck, is a personality profiler, and it's so fascinating because it doesn't matter how many hours I've spent with him profiling, like I said, over almost 900 people, he never gets it wrong. It's so fascinating. He can look into a person's eyes, not know anything about them, but know their personality and know what they need in their personality to complement what would be something that would determine a successful relationship.
And this
for that
is
person.
Just straight through conversation, interview style?
Straight through conversation, interview style.
Huh. Interesting. Well, like, he's a PhD?
Yes, he
All
is.
right.
Yeah, he's a doctor, and
Okay.
he's been doing it for 45 years.
Now, I'm going to throw a quick, I'm sure you weren't expecting this. I mean, obviously you're talking about men and women. Myself and a lot of our listeners are gay. And I'm curious, do you cater at all? Like, do you have any gay clients?
So it's such a great question because about 2 years ago, I actually got together with my gay partner at the time, meaning he was such an enigma. He's such an amazing person. He's a dad. He's in a relationship for 20 years. He has a daughter. And we figured, oh my God, how great would this be to be like a really high-end gay dating service? Unfortunately, it really didn't work out because I think that he didn't realize the workload that would really go into this. He had another business also. So it didn't work out, but hopefully in the future, it might be something that we can revisit again.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I think.
It would be. I just, what it is? I find that I'm an expert, a relationship expert, but I'm an expert in heterosexual relationships, not in gay relationships. I wouldn't be the expert and I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Because that's your life. That's your
right.
life. Yeah.
Correct.
Which I understand.
Yeah. So I wouldn't feel comfortable giving people advice when I'm not the expert in that field. So having a partner that would be fantastic.
I love it. Maybe I'll be your new partner.
Ooh, good.
Okay, so let's flash back a little bit to season 10. I mean, could you have ever guessed that your event, this speed dating event in season 10 would kick off? I mean, not kick off, but like it would, this idea of this red scarf guy permeated through several episodes up until I think when they were even in Cartagena, there was even some discussion.
It was a big fight in Cartagena. Remember, Bethenny said that.
Do I remember?
Right. That's Carol's consolation prize.
So let's back up. I mean, your entry point, it seemed to be that you had a friendship with Carole.
I did, yes.
So how did you meet her?
So it's very funny because Franco, who was my gay partner at the time, for my business, actually introduced me. We were at a Du Jour magazine party and Carole was there, and Carole and I actually met. Oh my goodness, I would say maybe like 4 years before that. I'd actually ran into her. Great story. I ran into her in the Four Seasons restaurant. And I remember sitting with my assistant, and because sometimes I would go there for lunch, and I had given Nicholas, the maitre d' at the time, my business card because I knew Carole was single. So I said, what do I have to lose, right? And I said to Nicholas, can you do me a favor? Can you give this to Miss Radswald? Little did I know who she was sitting with. She was sitting with a New York Times reporter. How crazy. Uh-huh. I end up, fast forward, she was such a doll. She called me over to the table. We spoke a little bit about my business. She was asking me a bunch of questions. Like I said, had no idea who she was sitting with. About a week and a half later, I get a phone call from my stepson. He goes, oh, by the way, you're in the New York Times? I'm like, excuse me? No. What are you talking about? He goes, oh, yeah, turn to the style section. I go, oh my God, what am I wearing? He goes, it's not a picture of you. It's about you. And what it was this reporter who was interviewing Carole for her book, The Widow's Guide to Sex and Dating. Uh-huh. This reporter had said exactly what happened, how I had walked over to the table after I've given Nicholas the card, and they were just kind of quizzing me and asking me all these questions about my business. And a couple of years later, when Carole and I met again from my friend Franco, we were talking and she said, Rori, I think it would really be great, for you to be able to come on the show. And we actually spent a little bit of time together. We went for lunch and we had some cocktails. So we really got to know each other. It wasn't that, simple. And she just said, I think that you would be great on the show. Like if I can create like a speed dating party where all the girls would be able to like be dating and you could bring some guys and it would just really be fun since everyone's pretty much single except at the time for Dorinda and Tinsley.
Uh-huh. Also, it is also brilliant to anything that's an all cast event. It's guaranteed that it won't hit the cutting room floor.
Oh yeah, no, and that was major drama.
Yeah. Wow. So that's how you met Carole, and then what was the filming process like?
Oh, it was so simple. It was so easy. I mean, they just told us, where to show up. The way that they set the precedence was that I had sent them all an invitation, meaning for Platinum Plaid, a gorgeous lucite box, like sexy little stuff, that would be fun for dating, like a little thong and like chocolates and perfume. It was really, it was definitely a good invitation.
Do you typically do speed dating events?
It's funny, a lot of people ask me that all the time after that episode was aired, and I'm like, I never do that.
It was just a ploy for the show.
Yeah, it was, and you know what it was? Not one person felt comfortable to be singled out. Like they were like, either we're all dating or we're not dating.
Right. Totally makes sense. And the audience was really able to, much fodder came out of each woman's dating style. What did you make of each? Like, let's run through them. Like, Bethenny was super aggressive, I think she even said to Red Scarf Guy, what's his name?
Brian.
Well, let's call him Red Scarf Guy. It's more fun. I remember she made some joke like, oh, you want me to give you a blowjob? Like, yeah. What did you observe about each of the women's different dating styles?
Okay, so let's start with Bethenny since we started with her. So I definitely felt like, she's definitely a strong person and she's definitely aggressive. I think she needs someone it's interesting, someone obviously that she respects for sure. And especially financially, because, I had met Bethenny actually in the St. Regis in Aspen a couple of years ago. I think it was like right after that episode, right after we filmed. And she said, Rori, if you have anyone for me, like, here's my number.
Wow.
Let me know. She knows that I have good quality people. So, nothing ever really came to it. Actually, I tried to set her up with someone who was a surgeon who is, and she just never like answered. And whenever I said, okay, it is what it is, that's fine. But she definitely needs someone who really loves her for who she is and loves her for who she's not.
Have you been observing her relationship with her boyfriend, Paul?
I have. And, just through Instagram and stuff like that. I mean, listen, I think that obviously it seems like he really is a great fit for her. I think he's the kind of person that has a quiet confidence from what it sounds like and seems like. And I think she's been through so much, with losing Dennis. That was really heartbreaking. And I think that she's in like a really good place and I'm happy for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seemed like at that speeding dating event, she was just ripping the guys to shreds.
Yeah, she wasn't happy. And I think that when you're unhappy, you come across as aggressive and just like, it's almost, she was like, I think she was at a point where she just wasn't happy and maybe even a little bit bitter. Mm-hmm. But I think now she seems like she's in a good place. And like I said, I'm happy for her.
So let's talk about, actually, I think it'd be interesting to talk about Tinsley.
So Tinsley now, we know, is now with the love of her life.
She's getting married.
She's getting married. She definitely, she played that relationship big time.
Do you think that do you think this relationship will work?
It's a good question because I do think that she is in love with Scott. Like, I don't really, people are like, oh, it's all about the money. It's all about the money.
She has money.
She's exactly. I don't think it's about the money. Right. I don't think it's about the money. I think that she really loves Scott. And I think that it really, maybe for her, it was like the commitment was really difficult. And I think that she was, so focused on that. And it was, the girls drew so much attention. Will he, won't he? It's not so easy to be on a reality show and have a successful relationship. So I think the fact that she's going to be off the show and she's going to live in Chicago, I do think that she has, I'm praying for her that it will work out. I think she's a good girl and she deserves her happily ever after.
I 100%. I love Tinsley and I want her to be happy and have a child and have everything she wants.
Me too.
So here's what's interesting. So Tinsley, I don't know if you're aware of this. She was on another reality show back in 2010 on the CW called High Society.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
And this show, everybody needs to go binge this show. Honestly, it's all on YouTube for free. You can watch it in 3 hours.
Oh, I'm going to do that.
I had mentioned it on a previous episode. And basically that show documents right after she broke up with her ex-husband, Topper, who was her high school sweetheart. Now, according to the folklore, the main issue there, they had been together a really long time. They were high school sweethearts. In fact, they got married. They eloped, and then they had to annul that marriage, and then they wound up getting married for real a few years later. That was a real deal relationship that spanned, I think, at least a decade. According to the folklore, the main point of contention was that he was uncomfortable with her being a quote-unquote socialite. Is this not exactly what's going on with Scott?
That's exactly what's going on. And that's why, good for her, she made a decision. She chose love over fame. She could have kept going, right? She did come on the show. It was said somewhere that she did come on the show within the hopes of finding love. Mm-hmm. And you know what? She found it.
Isn't it crazy that Carole set her up with Scott?
I was thinking about that today, actually. It's so funny. I was thinking about that because I said, oh, Carole was she was a good matchmaker. And it's funny because Carole and I, after, all was said and done and she wasn't returning to the show, we spoke a little bit about her, even working with us, as a matchmaker.
Oh my God. Really?
Really.
And whatever happened?
You know what? I think that life just got in the way and it didn't end up really to be anything. But, I love Carole too. She's also such a sweetheart and she's a good person. You mm-hmm. see that with people who have had relationships and friendships for many years. Carole's one of those people.
It seems like she's still on really good terms with Adam. I don't know if there's anything romantic there, but they're at the very least, they seem to be really close.
Right. But that speaks volumes about Carole. You know? About the kind of person that she is. She's not a confrontational. She's not that. That's why when all that went down with her and Bethenny, it was sad,
So sad.
Because I feel like they were different, but they were similar. And mm-hmm. I think that they both gave each other what each other didn't have.
Let's talk about Sonia and Ramona.
Oh, okay. Let's do that.
Let's start with Sonia.
So Sonia, I think.
I mean, we've seen plenty of her ridiculous flirting style this season.
We've seen plenty of Sonia in general. Okay, it's funny. Sonia's a Sagittarius. Actually, her and I are the same sign.
Mm-hmm. I'm a Sagittarius moon.
Ooh,
yeah.
No wonder I like you.
It means I love adventure, and that's what fills me up.
Oh yes. Sonia's really, she's a good person. Also, she's a good heart. I think that when she drinks, I think she definitely like gets more like out of control. And I think that's the self-sabotage in her. Because I don't think she's really happy when she's that Sonia.
So what type of guy would you fix her up with?
I really would love to see her with someone also a little bit, maybe like her age, a little bit older.
Remember that guy?
Rocco.
Mm-hmm. Why didn't she ever go for that?
Because I really felt like she really didn't love him. I feel like it was like filling a void like a friend. Maybe he looked like on paper, like everything worked out. But chemistry, Jess, chemistry's chemistry. It's either there or it's not there.
He seemed cute enough. I mean, what are you looking for at that point?
Well, listen, she also was with that guy, Frenchie, the younger guy.
I think that to me, that felt all fake.
Yes.
It felt... So back to Carole and Bethenny. Let's talk about Red Scarf Guy, aka Brian.
By the way, aka Brian, Red Scarf Guy is in a relationship. July will be 2 years that I set him up with his now girlfriend.
You're kidding?
Nope.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Wait, you ready for this? Tell me if you knew this. And this is true. Red Scarf Guy used to be married. He was formerly married. His ex-wife was... Okay, wait. Let me get this straight.
Okay,
hold on.
I'll tell you.
He was married to Jill Zarin's boyfriend's sister.
I know.
Jill Zarin said that on this podcast.
Yeah, Jill's to Gary Brody.
How fucking crazy is that?
I know. It's like even what he
How
actually...
can you not bring Jill Zarin back on this show given that
So Brian even said to me, he goes, "You're never going to fucking believe this." He said to me, he goes, "You'll never believe who Jill Zarin is dating." And I was like, "My ex-brother-in-law." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, we can have our own show at this point.
Okay, so can we break down exactly where did the communication and the facts break down in terms of who wanted who? So basically, you had created this speed dating event with the express intention of introducing Carole to Brian, Red Scarf Guy.
Yes.
On the show, we never even see them interact at all, but we see heavy interaction between Brian and Bethenny.
Yes.
And they appeared to have met each other previously, and he seemed to be like interested in her.
Yeah, they had lunch. They had lunch in Florida before all this happened, like a couple of months before.
But where would they have met?
They met on The League.
Oh my God. Okay, so The League is like a fancy dating app.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, like you have to have
like if you're not coming to me, sorry.
The League is a like much higher version of like a Raya.
Raya, exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God, they met on The League. That's funny.
Brian was being polite. You know what? If he think about it, Jess, if he really liked Bethenny, wouldn't he have asked her out on a date again? He wouldn't have waited when he got to the speed dating and he knew Bethenny was going to be there. Obviously, the Real Housewives of New York. He's smart. He knows.
Yeah.
And
what does he do for a living?
He actually he's a businessman and he owned, I know, a sneaker company that I think he sold. To like Timberland or something. And he's an entrepreneur and he does he's involved in different businesses.
Cool.
But wouldn't he have followed up? Like if he's into you, he's into you. He was being polite. He feel like he was comfortable that he knew a familiar face. So it was easy banter. You're not talking to a stranger. Mm-hmm. But if he really liked Bethenny, he would have pursued Bethenny. He's not shy. But who he really pursued was Carole. And they definitely, they entered into like a relationship, friendship, and then it became just a friendship. It didn't go anywhere from there.
So off the show, he wound up, you hooked him up with Carole off
correct.
The show?
Yeah.
Okay. And did they wind up dating?
Yes. They dated for a little bit.
Oh, wow.
It didn't become anything serious, obviously.
Okay.
But I think that they really just enjoyed each other's company. They became friends, and that was that.
Cut to Cartagena. Bethenny was claiming that she set him up with Carole.
No, she was claiming, well, why wouldn't you tell me? You know, I would set you up with him.
Oh, okay.
And then she spun it into this like competition that it really wasn't a competition,
right?
You know?
Let's do a deep dive on Ramona, because now you clearly fixed her up again.
Yes, I did.
So just in general, like, who do you see her with? What type of guy should she be with?
So we know Ramona definitely wants to be with someone tall. We know Ramona wants to be with someone successful. She's smart enough to know Ramona. If you notice through previous seasons, like, she's more of a prude. Like, she is a little more old fashioned. She is a little more like subservient to a man. And that's the way she grew up. And if that's how she feels, you know, like, to cater to a man, she loves to entertain. She loves to nurture, which I think she needs someone who is a little bit also in her age range, age appropriate for her. And someone who's already lived their life, has kids. She loves the fact when someone is also like a father. That's very attractive to her. You know, she's very close to her daughter. And she needs someone who really is going to let her be Ramona. You know, like, Ramona is a lot. You know, she is a big personality. You have to be able to be secure with that. And I'd say, like, for the most part, a lot of these housewives, they're all, you know, big personalities. To be on a reality show, you need to have that.
So why do you think she keeps rejecting the idea of going back with Mario? Me personally, I want them to get back together.
So I hear you. And, you know, I think Ramona
seems to love her.
Yes. And the fact that they're quarantining together with Avery, God. I love that. You know, and I said to her, Ramona, you should be like a spokesperson for people who get divorced and can be friendly with their ex, especially when there are children involved. It really, really creates like a safety and a protection for your children, that mommy and daddy, no matter what, even if we're not together, we do respect and love each other, and we love you. You know, that's important for kids to know.
So why do you think she keeps keeping him at arm's length?
You know what? I think that she got a taste of what a single life is like. And I know that she definitely wants to be with someone, as we've seen on the last few episodes.
She was crying. And that, yeah.
I think that she was I don't think she expected to have whatever happened to her. I don't think she expected it. I think her heart.
He cheated on her.
And I think that she was very heartbroken.
Okay.
And I don't really think she wants to go back there, because, you know, to heal from something like that, and God forbid to go through something like that again, is just too devastating. Like, Ramona got her groove back. You know, like, when you see her in previous, you know, seasons, when all this went down, she was devastated. And you know what? She really, like, knows that she has great girlfriend. She has a great daughter. They have a great relationship, her and Mario. I think that she just wants, you know, I also do know, you know, that Mario had some kind of like issues, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think emotional, mental, like, he wasn't the happiest person in the world. And Ramona really picked him up. She really was almost like, it's like being like a therapist to your own husband. Sometimes that's exhausting, you know, and everything that happened to her, I think it was devastating. It's like, where was the loyalty that I was so there for you as a wife, as a mother, as a business person? I mean, she carried their family. And then towards the end, you know, she was also the breadwinner.
Right. So in the episode we just saw, why this specific guy? Like, why did you think this was the guy to set up Ramona with?
Okay. So I think, first of all, you know, let's be real and say that, you know, and honest, that a lot of people who would want to date Ramona would not want to do it on the show. It's a big deal. You know, they don't want to be all over the place. You never know how they're going to be edited, right? But I felt like this guy, first of all, he was sexy.
Remind us of his name?
Enrique.
Oh, Enrique. Okay.
You know, he's sexy. He's from Venezuela. It's a different type than the New York City Jewish Italian. I like the fact that also he's, of course, successful, good looking, a very nice demeanor. And I think that he was also someone that would be like almost like intrigued by her personality. So I felt like it would be complimentary, and I really wanted to see how she would behave herself with someone like this. But you have to stay tuned and watch.
And do we know, like, did they continue to date like off the show?
So they definitely continue to stay in contact and to, you know, meet up. I know there's nothing that, you know, nothing serious that came from it.
Okay.
But I know she definitely enjoyed her time with him.
And we may see you later in the season as well.
Yes,
you
may.
filmed. Well, I guess let's talk about. So something you brought up before we hopped on here was that after the speed dating event, the producers contacted you to audition or potentially join the cast.
Mm-hmm. So it was, I was recommended by one of the girls, and I did like a whole Skype 3-hour
Carole?
crazy,
Okay.
you know, to do an interview, and it was like a couple of hours. They wanted to see me, my family, my husband, my kids, my life, my apartment, you know, just everything that a New York housewife would require. I think for what was maybe even a deal breaker, I'm a very controlled person. You know, in other words, like I could have a drink, I could have 2. I don't need to have 10.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you where it's at. And I said, I'm definitely not taking off my clothes. So I don't know if that's a deal breaker, but it's funny because I would be the only married housewife on New York. Everybody else is like, it's the divorcees of New York. It's not the Real Housewives anymore.
Right. Well, I always say that it's like Sex in the City, that it is everyone always says like, oh, like we want a Sex in the City 3 or we want just one more season. I always say that Real Housewives of New York is it. Like you're watching 100%.
it. Correct. You know what it is? I think that a lot of times, think about it. Sex in the City, the girls were in their 30s. Samantha was the oldest one who was in her 40s. Now it's showing that almost like 60 is the new 40. Because these women do look great, you know, but sometimes you want to, do you want problems that are, you know, in that age or in that decade, or do you want like younger? Like Tinsley, the truth is the youngest. Is she 40 yet?
Leah's the youngest.
So she's 37.
Guess how old Tinsley is?
40?
She's like 43 or 44.
No.
She's at least 43.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't even realize that.
And Leah's 37.
Yeah, no, well, she really is like the youngest.
And guys, hang tight. We're going deep on Leah in a minute. I'm laying some groundwork and then we're going to like really dive in. You did a Skype interview. And then what happened?
And then I remember that season, you know, they'd called me and they said, you know, you were in the top 5 and they're not picking a new housewife. And that's when they brought Barbara on as a friend, because that whole thing with Luanne and like, you know, she was really there for her, and you know, her and Bethenny really were good friends to her and stuff like that. So they didn't pick a new housewife, you know. So I was on for an episode last season where I was also like, you know, working with Ramona, and she actually went on a date with this guy that was honestly like, they showed you what was all wrong for her. Because she was
you set her up with that guy?
Yes. So what happened was I had said to her, you want someone, like she was very into the fact like she wanted younger. I'm like, okay, well, if you want younger, the guy has no kids, was never married, and I'm going to show you, and without showing you, but I'm going to show you what's going to be all wrong for you.
And you said to me that Ramona has been your most difficult client.
Well, I don't want to say difficult because she's not a nice person. I love her. She's great. I think that she became easier, meaning she wanted what she wanted last year. I gave her what she thought she wanted, which she obviously, if you watch it, it's what she definitely doesn't want. And now this year we give Ramona what Ramona wants and deserves.
Although it didn't work. I mean, listen, she's quarantined with Mario, not Enrique. So, okay, we got to go deep on Leah.
Let's do it.
The hidden gem in this is that Leah 10 years ago was on the New York season of Millionaire Matchmaker with Patti Stanger. And before Rori came over, I sent her the episode so that we could really go deep on number 1, Patti Stanger. Number 2, Leah's style, like how you can really see how she interacts with a man. Of course, you can see that fresh right on the show now.
Right.
But tell me what you make of Leah. You know, she has this guy, Rob, who she was in a relationship with. They never got married, but they had their daughter. They remain on amazing terms. What did you think of Leah's appearance on Millionaire Matchmaker?
Okay, so let's start with that, like you said. So I feel that I understood what Patti said, when she was saying she has like masculine energy.
Yeah.
She's beautiful. I mean, you know, when you look at her, you're not thinking masculine energy. She was really like a sexy girl. I think that Patti, I think listen, I think that she has certain things that she hits spot on. And then I think that she herself is very masculine, honestly. I think her energy is she's very rough around the edges.
Totally.
I mean, hello. It's funny because one thing about matchmakers that I really don't get, like, unless you're in a successful relationship yourself, what the hell are you doing? I mean, Jess, would you go to a nutritionist that was really overweight? Would that be an inspiration for you?
Right.
So,
have you met Patti?
I've never met Patti. I have nothing obviously negative to say. I just call it like I see it, just like she does.
Yeah.
But listen, I think that Leah was, I felt like her matches were not great. I didn't feel like those people would be people that I would set her up from. And I feel like you're basing it on what? Like, someone's a millionaire? Like, it's, to me, I think the concept is really like for entertainment purposes only. When you really get to know somebody, and she's sitting there with these two other people that are summing up like, who should date Leah? Who should date that other guy that was on the show? I really feel like it's more for entertainment purposes only, not really because you're doing like your homework.
Right. Watching the show now we have like a good idea of who Leah is. What type of guy, because like she's single now and appears to not even care about finding a guy right now. She seems to be very happy single. But long term, what type of guy do you see her with?
So I happen to think, it's interesting because they were all talking about like her tattoos and how she doesn't fit in with the group. I actually feel like inside she was a lot classier than the rest of them. She's not mean. She's not vicious. You could see she's a nice person. And I feel like she deserves like a guy, same thing. In life, in love, you need somebody, especially if you're a strong woman, you need someone you're going to admire and respect. And I feel like she's really pretty good competition for these ladies. She's a beautiful girl. She's 37 years young. She has really, what baggage does she have? She has a company that she's built, from the money that she won from the cops, which I thought was genius, by the way. She seems like she's a really good mother. I think and listen, I think that it's going to be interesting to watch what kind of addition she's going to be, because a lot of these girls organically, listen, they're friends. They have a history together. That's what makes the show work. But I mean, I'm excited to see, how she like meshes into this group, because let's say Tinsley wasn't on the show. And
next year she's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So who would Leah really mesh with? It's one thing when you're 37, and what do you really have in common with a woman who's like 55?
Well, I think next season they're going to they're already asking her to bring in some of her friends.
Right.
To try them out.
Yeah. No, I totally agree and think that's a good idea.
What did you, in the episode of Millionaire Matchmaker, and guys, if you want to go back and watch this, it's on... I believe it's on Hulu. It's from season 4, the New York season. And you'll find it. Leah's in there. Patti's main refrain was that masculine energy, which I found amusing because just me personally, like, that's actually the trait in women when I see it that I actually like am drawn to. Like, I actually really like that. So that's why I was like, when I was just first being introduced to her, I was like, oh, I'm like totally into her because of this edge that she has.
She's edgy.
But that's hot.
Right.
Like, that's
right. So that's
what you want.
That's why, like, in a sense, like, I kind of disagreed a little bit with Patti. Like, she's controlled. She, some people are not saying she's a control freak, but like, so big deal. She moved the guy's glass. I wasn't looking at that as control. I was looking at it as nurturing.
Right.
Like, okay, maybe this guy's an idiot. He doesn't really need to use the glass. Let me like fix the situation. Like, it really depends on like the way that you took it. I didn't take it that way. I think that Leah is a confident woman. I don't know if she wants to have more children or,
No, she says she doesn't.
She doesn't. So like for her, it's like, okay, like she probably, when she wants to find somebody, listen, the best time that when you do find someone is when you're really not looking. She's 37. She has her daughter. She doesn't feel the need. It's not like, she obviously doesn't have any problems with sleeping around with guys. Like, she made that very obvious, and there's no judgment. Like, if that's who you are, be who you are. I love that you can be who you are.
Was it smart of Luanne to date her cabaret manager or like her agent for like all of last year?
Absolutely not. Okay.
And I think this is going to bleed out onto the show. I'm pretty sure this is going to come out on the show that she was dating.
Because let's say for some
her
reason
agent or a cabaret man or something.
But how's that ever going to be good? Unless you end up marrying the person and live happily ever after, that's never a good thing. Why do you want someone who's in your business, knows your business, if it doesn't work out, wants to take a revenge on you?
Right.
Come on. She definitely needs someone who's a little more like going to let her have the spotlight and not care.
Do you think that a narcissist can find like a real partner? What person would want to be with somebody who is narcissistic? And I'm actually not saying Luanne's narcissist. I'm just talking about in the general public.
You know, I think that when people are with a significant other that is a narcissist, it's someone who also is either a fixer. They think they're going to constantly fix them, or someone who just likes to cater. They're so enamored with that person, so taken with that person that they're going to take their nonsense. You know, and it's really someone who's really more insecure. That's the kind of person that puts up with a narcissist. Someone who realizes, oh my God, who has confidence, or sometimes in a relationship, think about it. It could take a couple of years before you even notice that you're with someone who's a narcissist. And then if you do, and you really say to yourself, you know what, I can't take it, you better run.
I thought it would be fun to talk about. So I've been watching this guys, if you're not watching this current season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, they completely broke the fourth wall. Kourtney left the show, like quit. Like in the premiere of this season, Kim and Kourtney got into a physical fight.
I saw that.
That was nuts, right?
That was crazy.
And then in part 2 of that episode, you basically see Kourtney say, she's just like, I don't want to do glam anymore. She's like, I just want to be able to like be with my kids and like hang out. I don't want to film this TV show anymore. And she says this on camera, and then you see like Khloe's reaction and they all have to process it. But basically that's where we're at. Later, like as the episodes go on, you see Khloe struggling with whether to freeze her eggs or freeze an embryo. And you see this guy who was she ever married to Tristan?
No.
Okay, so he's just the baby daddy who cheated on her
twice.
Well, he's such a piece of shit. Let's focus on Khloe. Just continually chooses the wrong guy.
You know, listen, basketball players, what are they? They are players in life. They're players in life. And it's very hard for these guys to remain faithful. They have all these women throwing themselves at them.
Then why choose the same guy? Well, like, of course, Lamar was different. He had bigger problems. Khloe and Lamar, by the way, was the greatest spinoff of all time.
I know.
It was so good. Like when they were happy, I like loved it.
Me too.
But why go from one dysfunctional basketball player to another dysfunctional?
Because I think that's what, listen, sometimes, you know, you're attracted to that type. Think about it. She's Khloe Kardashian. For her to be with just an average Joe, it's probably more difficult. They probably couldn't get past it. Or if they could, they probably, a regular guy doesn't want all that attention, all that fame. So they figure, you know, let me be with someone who's maybe not in the entertainment world in that way, but yet someone who's also still high profile and is going to understand my life.
Kind of like Kanye.
Correct. Exactly. You know, so I think that's where she was going. And also, listen, I guess she's attracted to guys that are like 7 feet tall.
Yeah, right.
I mean, come on.
Right. I just really want her to like find peace.
Me too.
And like,
you know,
a real partner.
She's really one of those people that I really, from day one, from when watching the Keeping Up with the Kardashians, I loved her. She was my favorite. She's real. She puts it out there. She's genuine. And I really feel like she's genuinely a good person. I would love, you know, they had asked me, I had a previous interview and they'd asked me, actually at page 6, who would be the person that I would really want to set up. And I said, you know what? I just love Khloe. And I always say, you know, I always feel that you can't find love for someone you don't like. You know, I really do like Khloe very much from everything I've seen. They're really a good family. You know, Kim also, I think, is an amazing person. You know,
she is amazing.
My nephew was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh my God.
About a year ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Thank God he is completely doing amazing. And his wish was to meet Kim Kardashian. And not only did he meet her, he was invited to Kanye's concert. My sister and my nephew were backstage with her for 2 hours.
Wow.
She was such a doll. She was just such a sweetheart. Like they couldn't get over. Like
how old is your nephew?
He's 16. Aww. They couldn't get over like just how like gracious and welcoming and warm she was and genuine.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that he had to go through that.
Yeah. Thank you. But he's doing great, and God willing, he'll be great.
That's a nice story about Kim. Why do you think Madonna is always dating these young dancers who work for her, who are, on tour with her, that are also like Lola's age, her daughter?
Jess, because she can.
But you know as well as I do, Madonna is brilliant. Brilliant. By the way, you know how she got to be that smart? Sean Penn. Everything she learned was from Sean Penn.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
You got to read her brother, Christopher Ciccone, wrote a tell-all called Life with My Sister Madonna.
Oh, gotta read that.
I think she sued him over it. But either way, you can read it or listen to the audiobook. It is fascinating. And in there, he basically explains how it really was Sean Penn who was so much more cultured than Madonna. He rose her up.
Oh, I believe that.
To be in this worldly figure.
Well, I believe that. I mean, he's Sean Penn, for Christ's sake.
He had way more success and way more worldly cultural experience.
Yeah, no, for sure. But see, but
I digress.
Like I said, just because I think she can, because I also sometimes think that I don't know if she's looking for the real deal, because it's not going to be with a dancer.
But how does she have these intelligent conversations that I know she's so smart?
Maybe it's just, sometimes people are just want to connect, and they want to connect for the night.
She's been with the guy that we see her, you know who I'm talking about. I think his name is Alik. He's the main dancer in the Madame X tour, and he's all over her Instagram. They've been together well over a year, maybe 2 years. So that's a relationship.
But we don't know what kind of relationship that is. Is it a relationship where, what is she, mommy? Or is it maybe just someone I enjoy having sex with or and being with? It's interesting, because even going back to Leah for a second, Leah put it out there that she's not looking, she just wants to have a good time right now. Sometimes women can act like men. We're not used to that, where they're I just want to go have fun. Maybe I want to sleep around, and maybe I just want to be with one guy who I want to have sex with, and I enjoy him for that, and goodbye. Maybe I don't want to get emotionally all interacted and connected and all screwed up. Maybe that's what I want. She's Madonna. Yeah, would you be surprised?
Not after Guy Ritchie, who seems like a total asshole. You can read more about that in the book.
It's less complicated for her.
Yeah. In dating and in your work, do you think it's more coaching, or is it more a numbers game?
Meaning, in other words, for my business, what I do?
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of coaching. It's a lot of coaching. And it's amazing, because sometimes people who have either been in a relationship for so long and now are there's this whole new world out there of emailing and texting. And let's say someone's been in a 20-year marriage or 15-year marriage, and all of a sudden they're getting back out there. They have no idea how to date. How do I do this? Mm-hmm. So in our service, we coach a lot of our clients, what to expect, how to handle certain situations, when at this point now they're going to meet the person's children. Is it too soon? Is it not soon enough? It's just a lot of coaching goes on, which I think is actually adds a lot of value to people, because we don't want them to make the same mistake, going into a new relationship. You really need to do the work on yourself.
Can we talk about the whole pandemic and quarantine?
Oh, let's talk about that.
I know for fact, people, because I have friends who they're oh yeah, I'm hardcore on the apps. I got nothing to do but talk.
Exactly. So right now, it's funny you ask me that question, because in my business, since it's an expensive service, and since what are you supposed to do? How are you going to meet people right now? So what we've been doing is that we've been still working and setting up our clients. They've been meeting, they've been having FaceTime dates. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, because they actually really get to know each other. They really need to get to know each other. Mm-hmm. And I have a couple that he's been a client for a little while. She had just joined the service around the end of February, and we put them together, and they've been FaceTime dating since this all went down. He actually figured out a way to send her flowers, but he's the kind of person where he might have written her off. Like if he saw her picture and he would have been like, oh, she's not this, she's not that. But at the end of the day, he said to me, and I said to him, I think it's really worth a shot. You have nothing else to lose. What are you doing now? And right now, thank God, it's been like, I think a month or a little over, and they've been going strong and can't wait to meet each other.
Who knows if people are going to want strangers or people they don't know their health history in their apartment, in their home.
Well, it's like, you're not going to, it's like where it used to be like, do you have an STD? Have you had an STD? Well, do you have Corona? Have you had Corona? I mean, it's like a whole nother animal today.
Yeah.
And that's also why, Jess, we created part of of our service. We created something called the Pair Club. And the Pair Club is a lot less expensive than Platinum Plus. It's $500 for 3 months. You are guaranteed 6 introductions, which comes out to 2 introductions a month. And this way people are able to meet via FaceTime, and I'm able to vet them via FaceTime. And listen, it's the new normal right now.
So you think no matter what, even for people who can't afford your services, you think don't put your life on hold, get on the apps, get on Tinder, whatever, Hinge, whatever it's going to be, and just, you may meet somebody who you have a genuine connection with.
Right. And people are starving right now. They're starving for human connection, and they need it. And you never know. Like they said, Rapunzel met her prince in quarantine. Listen, you never know. You might be the next Rapunzel.
Is that true?
That's true.
Tell people about your book.
My partner and I, Dr. Errol Gluck, we wrote a book called The Art of the Date. If I had to describe it to you, it's Sex in the City meets Chicken Soup for the Soul. So it's a he said, she said book about dating. It's fun, it's funny, it's light, but it really hits you to the core because the advice is very honest.
Mm-hmm. Did you read Bethenny Frankel's book, I Suck at Relationships?
No, but I definitely want to because I'm so curious on what she has to say about that. She's honest.
And what's like the main takeaway?
My main takeaway for this book, we all come to the table with expectations, some more unrealistic than others. And I've said this, a lot to people. If you want to date someone who's educated, if you want to date someone who's successful, if you want to date someone who's dealt with their baggage, then you be all those people. You can't expect to date someone that has all those things to be in great shape. You should be in great shape. That's really the biggest takeaway is do the work on yourself. Be the person you want to date. And then that's fair game.
I love that. I think that is sound advice. Where can people find you online, and how can they, if they want to join your services, how can they do that?
Okay, they can check me out at Platinum Poire, PlatinumPoire.com, or they can also check me out or DM me on my Instagram at Rori Sassoon, RORISASSOON.
Awesome. And we'll see you, well, at least you said you filmed another scene with both Ramona and Sonia at the very end of the season?
Yes, we just did a little wrap up.
What was the wrap up?
We were just meeting for drinks and having conversation. Sonia and I met first, and we were kind of gossiping, of course, only good things about our lovely girl Ramona and about her date. And Sonia was just sharing with me what she's looking for and stuff like that, and in a relationship. And then the three of us just chatted, just about the girls and what's going on and little gossip, but you're going to have to wait to hear all about that.
You've been so much fun to chat with. You guys can follow me, JessXNYC, follow the show account, Hot Takes Deep Dives, and we'll see you soon.